Yeah.
All right, so my first Sergeant Ken. You're
good.
good. How are you?
Hey, it's a beautiful day.
All right, it's good. Well, we're going to interview you about your experiences in the military back in the, I guess, 1970s, late 1900s.
Right.
Yeah. So the first question is, what was your reason that you wanted to join the military?
Well, the first reason I wanted to get away from home. The second was I wanted the college money. But then once I got in, I found out it was patriotic, and to me, it was a great place to start for the foundation. So I only planned to do 4 years. After my 4 years expired, I re-enlisted, which means that I took another 6 years, and after that, it was history. After you get to 10 years, why not stay? You only have 10 more. And I ended up staying 26.
Wow, that's a pretty long time. Okay, next question is, when were some times that you just wanted to, like, give up and come home?
When I first joined, my first tour was Germany. I arrived in Germany, never been out of the United States, away from my family. My grandma and grandfather raised me, so that was special. But being away in a foreign country, it was really difficult. I asked to get chapter, and another guy that's in ROTC now was the cause that I stayed in. Because he taught me and said that he was like a big brother that caused me to stay, that Germany wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And then talking to my grandparents and having the faith, I stayed in, and the rest is history. After that, I started loving it.
What was it like to be in a higher ranked position than over other ethnicity groups?
You really don't have everyone's green in the Army. And that's the thing that is the foundation that the Army try to live by. So you don't look at the different groups. We celebrate the different heritage for the months, everyone, the Spanish, the Black American. You have those months that you celebrate, but in the Army we don't look at that as much. So if I'm over someone, it doesn't matter who I'm over, they're all soldiers. And that's the key thing that we look at. So being over them is providing them with the leadership that someone has provided me with. That's the thing that you get out of it. Not that there are other ethnic groups. That's not important.
Okay. In the book, one of the characters said that life was so much different when he got home, like mentally for him. So how was life like for you when you came home?
For me, because of the fact that they experienced combat, where in combat it's chaotic. Whereas when I served, what we call during peacetime, it's not as chaotic, which means that you go, it's like a 9-to-5 job. Except I get up in the morning at 6, I run PT from 6 to 7, 7:30. I go back, I change, I come back at 9, we have a formation. But it was the camaraderie that you have with your group, the people that you get to work with, that's the thing you get out of it. A lot of the people during Vietnam, when they return, they received like baby killers and different names like that, which they were serving not because they wanted to, but because they were drafted. They didn't have a choice. I had a choice. I volunteered. So it was totally different for me before as a volunteer and draft.
Okay. Through background information on you, not saying that we were stalking or anything, but we found out that your father was also in the military.
Yes.
How was life like when you were a kid and your father was overseas?
Well, it was really strange because at the time that he was in, I was so young, as a toddler. It wasn't as the system is now, to where your families traveled with you. My problem was I stayed in North Carolina while he was in. He stayed in for 4 years, and then he decided to get out, move to New York, and do other things. So that was the difference compared to now with my children. If what we call a permanent change of station, or PCS, then they would have to relocate. In this area, you have, because of Fort Jackson and Shaw, a lot of transit where they come in and out. The Army is trying to change that to where they start high school and they can stay there for 4 years to graduate. Officers, it's a little different. NCOs or the enlisted, most time they can stay. So, but for me, I didn't really experience that problem as per my kids now did.
Okay. So you were in Afghanistan as well?
No, I never had to deploy to Afghanistan.
Never had to deploy to Afghanistan?
No.
Okay.
And that was the thing, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. It was always the timing and the location. When they first had the first Iraqi war. I was in a drill instructor at Fort Benning when we went the second time, and they weren't taking drill instructors because we were training those that were going to the war.
Okay.
So it's always a matter of time. When they had the invasion of Panama, I was at Fort Ord because we were on the West Coast. Our unit wasn't deploying, so I didn't get to go to Panama.
So what can you say was the worst part, like, that you heard of the war?
I guess the initial contact, because it bombed for so many days. When it went through, watching the different body parts, laying around was affected a lot of people. The other thing that you have is that when you go into close combat for its urban, working in the city, what we call mount training, or mount, seeing a friend or a buddy killed is probably one of the most devastating things that you can have. Someone that you've grown close to that's like a brother, that's closer than probably your brother because he knows more about you. To see him killed is a problem.
If you could go back in your life, like way back to the beginning, would you go to the military? If so, why? And if not, why?
If I could go back, the only thing that I would do different, I would look at going to college and getting a commission rather than going in enlisted. I had fun as an enlisted. I moved up through the ranks of the first sergeant. But knowing what I do now, if I could go back, that's the only thing I would change different. I would go to college, get my degree, go in commission, and then serve my time.
You were probably enlisted during the later era of the civil rights movement. So, like, what was going on that you knew of that was in terms of civil rights in America while you were overseas?
Overseas, we really didn't have. Overseas, you don't see a lot of it. It's when you come back to the States and places, Georgia, Alabama, that's when you will see some of the areas you will see it. But not as much as growing up as a youngster you would have where they had this segregation where you only could eat on one side or the other. The Army, they used to have them separated for in different facilities. But when I came through, the barrier had been broken. I never really had the experience. You have those that are from the South that really didn't know how to adjust to integration, but then they try to keep it segregated, but the Army didn't allow that. So the Army had gotten away from that. Tuskegee Airmen and all of those were the ones that cut the foundation for me that I didn't have to experience a lot of.
Another main character in the book, his main purpose for him was to always write letters to his family to make sure that they were okay. He never told them the truth. He always was like, "I'm okay, everything is good." But did you feel obligated to write letters to your loved ones while you were overseas?
Yes, that is one of the things that will keep you in touch. The only bad thing now, they have the technology is a lot better. There, it would take a week for the letter to get home and a week for it to come back. So you had to write letters every day to have that influx of what is going on at home. That was one of the other things that really helped me for my mental capacity to deal with being overseas. Getting a letter from home and how they are doing, they're doing okay, because it's so expensive to call. So that was the thing that was good. The letters is a plus. You have to do that. Even when the cadets here go to basic training, I always tell them, write home. Doesn't matter whether they write back or not, but just write home so you can at least share what's going on. And you don't tell them everything, because then they're worried. And a lot of times they're worried you don't have to, because it's pretty much safe.
Okay. Last and final question. Now that you have children, how do you feel about them enlisting in the Army if they were to do so? And how would you feel if they were to deploy?
The only thing I would tell them to make sure that they're prepared before. If they have a desire, my oldest doesn't. He attends Ridgeview. My middle son, which is at Dent, has a desire to serve in the military. My only goal was that he would go get an ROTC either at the academies. Doesn't matter which branch, whether it's the military academy at West Point, the Naval Academy at Annapolis, or the Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs. Doesn't matter which branch, but if he wants to serve, then I would tell him to go that route. Go to the academies or to a ROTC scholarship and serve his country that way.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
No problem.
And we really appreciate you letting us interview you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You too.
Hopefully it answered the questions and everything that you need.